Yes, thank you very much. It's been a true honor having you open this webinar today. And now we will move on to the series of presentations from our panelists representing different island territories. We will begin with Óluva, who joins us from the Faroe Islands. Óluva is a geologist at the Faroe Island Geological Survey in Tórshavn. Recently, she's been deeply involved in national water legislation, contributing to the draft of the first ever Groundwater Act in the Faroe Islands, which was passed by Parliament in June 2024. She is currently working on the development of a new water action. Welcome, Óluva. The floor is yours. Hello.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'll just start by sharing my presentation. So I hope you all can see this.
Yes.
Perfect. Yes, great. Thank you. And thank you, everyone, very much for inviting me to give this presentation. It's an honor, and I hope that we can get a very interesting discussion also after the presentations. I feel already from the beginning that mine may be a bit different from yours, because scarcity of water is not really maybe our main problem, but it doesn't mean that we don't have challenges. So I'm going to share with you what we are looking at and what we are working with in the Faroe Islands. So first, some facts about the Faroes. So we are located up here in the north of Europe, in North Atlantic Ocean. We actually are a part of the Kingdom of Denmark. So we are self-governed though. So the Faroe Islands are very small in let's say land territory, only 1,400 square kilometers, but our water territory is large, very large, 300,000 square kilometers. We are not a part of the EU compared to Denmark, and we are governed by our own parliament. So we have something called a Lagting, where 33 people get elected every 4th year and govern the Faroes. And the government or the Landsstjóri has 6 members, including the head of the Faroes, so Løgmaður, the prime minister. There we go. Yeah. So the population of the Faroes is only approximately 55,000 people. The capital of the Faroes is called Tórshavn, and almost half of the people are living there, so approximately 20,000 people. The islands are comprised, or the archipelago is comprised by 18 volcanic islands. And it's always 300 meters above sea level on average. So let's say it's very high. It's a mountain rich, and it's never far to the sea. So our highest mountain is Slættatindur, and it's 882 meters high, and you're never more far away from the ocean than 5 kilometers. So some facts about our economics as well. So we are highly export driven, and what we are exporting is mainly from fisheries, from our maritime industry, but also from aquaculture, salmon farming especially. So we're almost 100% entirely dependent on these exports, so 90 to 95%. We have globally competitive salmon farming, and we also have a growing tourism sector. We generally have very low unemployment, and actually lately we have labor shortages within certain sectors. And we also have a demographic challenge. We do have some youth out migration due to people wanting to go abroad to get educations, and usually 40% of our youth goes abroad and only 20% come back. So that is a challenge for the islands. A little bit about our climate. We have what we call a subarctic oceanic climate. It's very influenced by the surrounding North Atlantic Ocean, but also the warm North Atlantic current. That's the northeast part of the Gulf Stream. So this gives us a specific characteristical climate. We have very mild temperatures year round. So wintertime we have between 3 and 7 degrees, and summertime 10 to 13. So there's not much difference in our temperature. we have a very high precipitation. So depending on where in the islands you are, we have around 1,200 to 2,000 millimeters of rain precipitation annually. And we have a lot of rainy days, somewhere around 200 and 300 days per year. So usually we usually say 240 days every year, but it's somewhere between there. And the weather is very variable, but overall it's cool, wet, windy, and very changeable. So in the Faroes, we have divided the population into 29 municipalities with very varying populations. So from Tórshavn municipality with over 20,000 people to some villages maybe having, or municipalities maybe having just a couple of hundred people. But these municipalities, they all carry the responsibility for water supply for all citizens and industry in their municipality. And in some of these municipalities, fishery and especially the aquaculture, the salmon farming, which are heavy users, they put a lot of demand and pressure on certain municipalities. So the water supply in the Faroes is divided into 115 systems. Some of these systems are obviously within the same municipality. And if we look at the numbers on how many are coming from ground or spring water compared to surface water, we actually, the majority of water supply in the Faroes come from surface water. So the way we let's say harvest water is in different ways. So this is a lake. This is a natural surface reservoir that we actually use quite a lot. This is the largest lake in the Faroes, and it's used for drinking water. For this picture is taken just in this area. So this island, Voar, half of the population of this island are dependent on water from this lake. But we also have some constructed surface reservoirs, both for only drinking water, but also for both drinking water and hydropower supply. So what we also do in the Faroes is that we use quite a lot of hydropower. And in this specific case that we can see on this picture, we're actually working on at the moment to create a pumped storage system, which means that we are going to use excess wind from windmills to use the energy to pump the water back into the reservoir, so we can keep using the same water. But this hasn't happened yet. It's very costly, but this is something that's in progress. And then we have our groundwater reservoirs. These are not really reservoirs that are being used or as such. I mean, let's say the last 2 decades, we have gotten a lot more knowledge about our groundwater reservoirs. In 2008, when we got our first law regarding shallow geothermal wells, we didn't really, let's say, consider the groundwater at all. But since then, we have learned a lot. And we today have almost 3,000 shallow geothermal wells on our islands, which have been drilled individually for heating private houses. These wells are from 200 to 400 meters deep, and the water in the wells is being used to transport the heat from the rock into the system, where it's a closed loop. So you heat the liquid that you have in your system and you heat your house with it. So you don't really use the water, but you rely on the water. So yeah, like I said, we've learned a lot. We now know that we have some reservoir porosity, even in our volcanic rocks, that's about 10%, and especially fracture-driven permeability can be really, really high in some places. So another thing that we have learned is that we have a lot of artesian wells. Approximately 30% of our 3,000 wells are artesian, running from just a little bit to up to over 30,000 liters per hour. So obviously we have started investigations of our groundwater reservoirs, and this is literally just started. So this is obviously work that's ongoing, but it's not only for drinking water purposes, but also for energy usage. So this is an example of what we did. So the average geothermal temperature in the Faroes is approximately 30 degrees per kilometer, but in some areas, because we have this fracture drive permeability, we have these conversion zones that give us a much higher than expected. So we found a place in one of the islands where we had a geothermal gradient of 70 degrees, which we obviously wanted to drill a well into to get the water. And we did. It was a success. So we found 25 degrees warm water at the 270 meters depth, running with almost 5,000 liters per hour. And today this is used as an open loop system. So the water is being used directly into the heating of a public school. So springs and groundwater, even though I said that we don't use the groundwater as such, we do use it in let's say, for example, this system is quite old. This is a spring system. It's actually giving, adding some of the water to the Tórshavn municipality, and it's been doing that for many years. So we have used spring water without really maybe recognizing that it's groundwater. But we also have found when we make tunnels in the Faroes, which we have a lot of, we find also groundwater. And in some of these tunnels, a lot of water has been running. So for example, one of the tunnels has almost 100 ton per day running into it. And that water is being used for many things. It's actually being used as drinking water for the closest villages, but it's also being used as a product. So actually there's a firm now that's called Kyrve that are selling mineral water from this tunnel. So the cleaning process is quite simple. So everything that we drink, both surface water and groundwater, is always being both cleaned by UV filter, but also in a sand filter. So that's like common for all the systems that we have. So, but despite of this, we do have some water scarcity during summertime, and some of the villages, small villages, especially in the Faroes, they don't have clean water throughout the whole year. They are actually being told to boil their water every time before they drink it. We have the growing industry that I mentioned already, especially the growing smolts for fish farming, and we have the high amount of shallow geothermal wells, which have led to all these artesian wells. And we also have some cases where it has challenged water supply for villages because we are draining the subsurface, meaning that the reservoir higher up in the mountain will not get filled as it usually was. So we do encounter some problems. And then maybe the main problem in the Faroes is because of the abundance of rainwater. There's a very low focus on water usage. I think the average for every person in the Faroes is about 500 liters per day, which is a lot, and also just the lack of acknowledgement from maybe both the people, but also from industry, that water is a resource. So that's something that we have tried working on also these last years. So the Faroes in a changing climate, although we don't have that much data as one would wish, because we haven't monitored our water usage very much, I have to admit. So this is a little bit potential challenges, but we do know that we have more rainfall. That is proven. It's been written and found in scientific articles. So some data we do have. So this can obviously increase flooding and runoff. And we do have that heavy rainfall and steep terrain, which we do have, can cause rapid runoff and local flooding. That is something that is happening. I just don't have any numbers on if it's happening more than it used to, but these are all things that we want to obviously start monitoring. And also that water can move quickly to the sea rather than being stored. Haven't maybe seen this yet, but this is a potential challenge. And obviously water quality risk. This is something that we do see, especially in the wintertime. Intense rain, it washes sediments, nutrients, or pollutants into water supplies. And that is something that we do experience in more or less all over the islands. Agricultural runoff, and we have a lot of sheep in the Faroes. That's also something that affects water quality sometimes. And obviously climate change can increase storms intensity and rainfall variability, and this can make water management more challenging despite overall abundance. So legislation and data management, what have we learned? Well, first of all, we know that regulation is very scattered. It's between both several ministries, but also several institutions. And it unfortunately does not cover all areas or aspects of where water is being used. So our first groundwater law came through the parliament, and I see now I have made a mistake. It was June 24, like Noelia said, it should be 24. And it has given the government, so meaning the Faroese Geological Survey in this case, the right to give licenses, because the right of the groundwater is with the government. So we have the, let's say, ability to award groundwater licenses and make sure that have the supervision of following up on the terms and conditions that are being given with the license. And also something that has happened lately due to all these geothermal wells is that in the beginning we did not have a say in the matter of where we wanted or where people wanted to drill these wells. But now we do. So now every time there's a geothermal well being drilled, we are being asked if this can damage or would this well be okay to drill in this area. And then also, like Noelia mentioned, we are currently writing a new water law. And the purpose of it is obviously to combine and update, not least, and to close the gaps. And hopefully we will actually replace 6 very old water laws by this one. And finally, we want to obviously continue data collection so we can map, and eventually we want to monitor also all freshwater usage and resources of the islands. It's more a hope than something. We have started this. And yeah, that was the last for me. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Óluva. Thank you very much for your insightful presentation. Very interesting. And also, I have to say, seeing the pictures, it was bringing me great memories from Faroe Islands. So thank you very much for that too.